Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. For today, we are going to be setting up my October journal spreads, and if you were here for my September plan with me, then you'll remember that I was very close to the end of this journal, so we will be migrating over because there just isn't going to be enough space to continue in the journal I've been using so far this year, which I have loved a ton. But this happened last year too, so I was not at all surprised that we would need to migrate over. And I'm going to change things up by using a traveler size notebook for the rest of the year. And I actually did have to use this notebook last year as well, so that was why I went ahead and picked it up to continue the rest of this year. But look at these super cute spreads that I set up that I didn't end up using at the end of 2024. I honestly had completely forgotten about these, and I kind of set them up like a Spotify Wrapped, and I did some really cute art. So I'm glad that I'm seeing these now because they're definitely going to give me some great ideas for the end of 2025, and hopefully I will actually use them this time. But that being said, I think we can go ahead and get started with my October spreads. So starting with my cover page, I did a little bit of pre-work just for my calendar, and I picked out a bunch of stickers that I wanted to choose from for this setup. Lots of them were from Ikigai Paper or Mochi Bujo's Patreon, and I also had some leftover Marigona Suli stickers from last fall that I wanted to use. I actually had placed an order for some more fall stickers from her, but unfortunately, thanks to the US and our current tariffs, they were not able to get to me in time for my October setup, but I'm very hopeful that they will arrive in time for November. I'm also going to use some stickers from Izabova, and I will try to link her store in the description, as well as some items from Archer and Olive's Halloween collection from last year. So I pulled out lots and lots of goodies to prepare for this spread, and I'm really excited for how these end up coming together. I think this is one of my spreads that took on more of a junk journal quality as I was setting it up, and I really think it turned out so much better because of that. Now, everyone do me a favor and just take a nice, deep, cleansing breath for patience, because you will see very quickly that for some reason I started off freehanding this spread and it was going terribly, so I very quickly remedied that by grabbing a different pen. But if you look very closely, you might notice that I made a little mistake when I did my pre-work for this spread. And I actually have an extra week of boxes here, but have no fear, I do have a way to clean this up and make it look a lot better. So we're off to a rocky start, but don't worry, we are gonna get there. It's gonna look so much nicer once I get in and do some touch up, and once I realize, of course, that I've got an extra week drawn here, because there are not 6 weeks in the month, there are only 5, but we'll come back to that in a minute once I start decorating. And can we just have a moment of appreciation for how this white pen absolutely carried the team with all of these corrections? I'm gonna use it again in a second when I realize that I have too many boxes, and it definitely helped, even though I will do some decoration to cover up some of those mistakes. But after fixing some of those little mess ups, I did move into using some stamps to do my headers for my calendar, and I knew that I wanted to use my stamps in this spread because I feature them pretty often in my reading journal spreads, but I don't frequently use them in my bullet journal, and that's just because they can be a little bit messy and they need some extra time to dry. So for this spread, I did stamp directly on the spread, but later I'll go ahead and do some pre-work, and then I will set them aside so that they can dry and be used later. It's one of my favorite things about bullet journaling that it's always a learning process, and every time that I set up a spread, I'm always learning ways that I can continue to improve with the tools that I'm using, and I feel like there's always new journaling supplies to try out that I haven't tried yet. So I really enjoy that aspect of journaling, and sometimes when you make mistakes, it just gives you another opportunity to try and practice something new. So here I am really cleaning up this spread, and don't worry, we're going to cover up that ugly pen mark right now with a little bit of our decoration. And I absolutely love this decorative paper that I got from Archer and Olive last year. I've been holding on to them since last year because at the time that I received them in my order, I had already set up my October spreads, and I'm so glad that I remembered to pull them out for this setup because I feel like they really make this cover page what it is. They laid down a perfect background and they really help to set the tone for the spread overall and give it that more spooky season October vibe that I really wanted. So I absolutely loved how this was coming together, and I honestly don't know that I would have put one on the bottom of the right hand page like I did, and that's one of my favorite aspects of the spread. So again, I'm just really thankful for that little mistake that I had because it really ended up enhancing the look of the spread overall and the cohesiveness of the two pages side by side. For the washi tapes that I'm using here, the key pattern washi tape is definitely from Archer and Olive, but I can't recall where this super cute washi tape was from, unfortunately. I have two that are more of this cutesy style, and they really remind me of the style that I typically would see from the sticky shop, but I know that they don't carry washi tapes normally, so I'm inclined to say I just don't recall where they're from, but if I do find the original seller, I'll definitely link that for you all. And again, I just used some Marigona Suli stickers here on that cover page to really bring it together and add a little extra element. I absolutely love her witchy stickers, so I was so glad that I still had a couple left over that I could incorporate into these spreads. But here I'm just adding some final touches onto the spread. It still needs an October header, so I will add that as well. And I did ultimately decide that I didn't like the numbers on my calendar written in brown, so I did go ahead and go over those with a black pen as well, which I really think helps to make them pop. Now, I will give you a piece of advice that I should have followed here. Definitely don't stamp and then immediately try to use what you've stamped in your journal, because I definitely smudged this a little bit, which thankfully I didn't mind how it ended up looking, but definitely give your stamps plenty of time to dry because that's going to help overall to make sure that it turns out the way that you want it to. And with those finishing touches all done, I'm actually going to set the journal aside for a minute so that I can make those additional stamped headers that I mentioned before. So I knew that I wanted to use my stamps for the other pages that I was going to have in this monthly setup, so I went ahead and did them now on the paper that I wanted to use as backing so that I could set them aside and they would have plenty of time to dry, so I wouldn't have to worry about any more smudging when I went to cut them out or rip them to add them to the page. Now, I will share that I am definitely new to stamping. This definitely isn't a skill that I've practiced a lot, and I do tend to have a little bit messier stamps when I do use them. You can definitely see that the stamps are leaving a little bit of a mark of the outside of the stamp around the actual letters, but I just decided to roll with it and choose to not be a perfectionist with regards to my headers. And I actually felt like the messiness added to the overall theme that I was going for with my spreads anyways. And with those headers all complete, I just wanted to make one final header for the weekly that we'll set up in this video, and that will be it for my stamping for the time being. So I just set those aside to dry so I could pick up where I left off and start on my workout tracker. And I was very happy when it came time to do my workout tracker that I had correctly counted my boxes when I did my pre-work and set my calendar up, so I wouldn't be needing my white pen to do any corrections on this spread, and it had the 5 weeks that it needed for October to begin with, and I hadn't made any mistakes. So I was really, really happy with that because I did not want to have to make any edits or go back in with my white pen, even though it did a great job helping to clean up that cover page. I was thankful that I didn't make those mistakes. mistakes again. But as you've seen, if you do make mistakes, you can always fix them if you need to. So I just went in and did some lining with some of my markers from Archer and Olive, and initially I thought this second line highlight might be a little too extra for the page, but I honestly think that this element ends up really adding to the overall image once I've finished my workout tracker. So by the time I was done with this and I had fully decorated it, I honestly think this turned out to be one of my favorite spreads in the entire monthly setup. So I'm really excited for you to see it all come together. And these number stickers that I'm using here are from Ikigai Paper. They are one of my absolute favorite products that she offers because they make creating calendars so easy. And as you can see, if you've been watching my monthly plan with me's, I am always setting up multiple calendars within my monthly spreads. So I love to have those to use in my monthly spreads. And I also love to have them when I'm setting up my weeklies, which you'll see me do in this video as well. And to finish off my workout tracker, I just created a nice background for my header that I had pre-stamped using some Archer and Olive washi tapes that are just honestly so pretty. I don't know if the video really does them justice, but that finished off everything for my workout tracker, and we can now move into my sleep tracker, which is always one of the easiest spreads for me to set up in my monthly setups. But I do always think that this spread ends up being one of the cleanest and prettiest spreads that I include each month. And after setting up the functional parts of my sleep tracker, I always do a second line highlight because I think it brings a little more interest to the page and it makes it look nicer to the eye before adding some additional decorations around that main part. I wanted to use my cute washi tape here again, but unfortunately it was just a little too wide for the design that I had gone with for my sleep tracker, but that's totally okay. I was happy to use the Archer and Olive one again. And thankfully, in my Ikigai paper stickers, I had a sticker that I felt like was perfect because it actually looked like the girl might be lying down and taking a nap. So I really loved how this all came together ultimately to finish off the spread. And with my sleep tracker all finished, we can now set up my habit page, which I did kind of an unconventional setup, at least in my opinion, for this page. And I really like how it created some more interesting details when you look at the page overall. I would have to say that with this spread and my workout tracker, they are definitely neck and neck for which one is my favorite spread that I set up. Unfortunately, I was having some issues with this super cute washi tape tearing a little bit, which makes me wonder if I got it in a haul of some cheaper journaling supplies back when I started journaling. When I first got into bullet journaling, I did do a larger supply order from Temu just because I wasn't sure if it was going to be an activity that I was going to personally stick with. So I have a feeling that that could be where this washi tape came from because it's a super cute design, but it doesn't seem very high quality, and I do feel bad using products that may have come from Temu. I can't confirm or deny if this one did, but if it did, you know, there's always just the risk that they could be borrowing somebody else's art or using AI to replicate another artist. So if that is the case, I do apologize for featuring one of their products, and I would always recommend you to try to stay away from those types of sites. And unfortunately, a few years ago when I got into journaling, that was just the investment that I was willing to make at the time. But nowadays, I definitely stay away from those types of sites, and I encourage others to do so as well. And for the details of my habit tracker spread, I have been tracking 6 different habits each month that I want to record either the date that I'm doing the thing. So for example, I try to wash my hair only about twice a week, so that's one thing that I typically record. Or I want to track the language lessons that I've been doing to try to do them every day. So I set up 6 boxes for that and then just added a little more decoration around them. But we can now move into my weekly spread. So the first few days in October are October 1st through 4th, and it's not a full 7-day week, so I'm only going to set up one side of the spread for the weekly itself, and I'm going to use the other side of the spread to create a space for me to do a little bit of brain dumping and set out some of the goals that I'm working towards for this month. Now, when I was doing my second line highlight, I wasn't in love with the color that I chose for that, but I do think ultimately it came together well, and it is going to look really nice after the pin because I have used that more gray tone on other spreads where I've written quite a lot on the spreads, and I know that I do like how it looks at the end of the day. So it might look a little empty right now just because it hasn't been pinned in yet, but it will look nice once it's been used, which is always a bonus if your spreads look better once they've gotten some use. Now for my actual week that I'm setting up, I'm again using those Ikigai paper items, both her number stickers and her headers for the week, and then a couple Isabova stickers to finish things off. But that is going to bring us to the end of my setup. So we will flip back to the start of my October spreads and do a slow flip through so that you can see all of them completely finished. Is gonna be it for my October setup. So thank you so much if you stayed to plan with me for the month. I would love to know what theme you're using in your bullet journal this month, and if you made it this far, maybe leave me a pumpkin emoji down in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye!